All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, May 2nd, 2014. And this is Before the First Cup with Jules and Zori on UCY.TV.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. And you?
I'm great. It's Friday.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Yeah. How was your short little vacation?
It was good. It was restful slightly. I did pretty much nothing. So
that's good though. That's what vacations are for, really.
Right. I just got to turn off for a little bit. But I'm back now.
Good. Yeah. I have a question for you, because I never took driver's ed in school.
Mm-hmm.
But don't they teach you to sit up straight and put your hands at 10 and 2 when you're driving? Is that?
You know, I took it. It was a long time ago. My driver's ed teacher was kind of a freewheeler. I think he probably had a flask hidden under his armpit. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, my daughter, that's what she told me they taught her in school. But, I can prove that you're supposed to go from school to jail because a panel of judges unanimously ruled that having hands at 10 and 2 is suspicious enough to stop drivers inside the USA.
What?
Can you believe? Yeah. And guess where? New Mexico.
Oh, surprise.
Yeah. A federal appeals court has ruled that driving with one's hands at 10 and 2 position is reason enough to pull someone over for further investigation. No traffic laws have to be actually broken. Additionally, the court ruled that facial acne is enough reason to suspect a driver is a drug smuggler.
Oh,
is that
that's good. Why? Because meth makes you break out? I mean,
yes, but and it says the ruling stems from an incident that took place on April 18th, 2012 at roughly 7:45 p.m. A Border Patrol agent driving down Highway 80 saw a white Ford heading the opposite direction. This took place roughly 40 miles north of the U.S. border, well inside the United States. Although the truck was witnessed breaking no traffic laws, border agent Joshua Semerlin claimed he noticed several things that drew his suspicion while passing the truck at 60 miles per hour. First was the driver had an upright posture. The female driver was sitting up straight with her hands located on the upper part of the steering wheel. This was viewed as suspicious activity. Secondly, the agent claimed that the truck's tinted windows were suspicious. It remains unclear how the agent saw a driver's posture through the suspicious tint. Lastly, was the truck's rear license plate, which the agent claims to have observed in his rearview mirror while traveling at a high rate of speed in the opposite direction. He claimed that he noticed it was from out of state, another suspicious a characteristic. I mean, all these things are things that people, this is getting crazy.
It is getting crazy. And I mean, it's anything you do. I mean, we've looked a number of times. Even I was talking to my dad about this week, just like with, high school kids. We were reading about them recruiting high school kids, to inform on friends and family. And then there was something on the news the other day. The local school districts down where I grew up, including my alma mater, are now going to have drug enforcement moles in the school.
Oh, God.
And I mean, I grew up like way down in suburbia, southern tier, hillbilly Hickville,
Yeah. It just drives me crazy.
Well, there was one. Hold on. I'm trying to get this. I still haven't swapped out computers, so we may still have issues, but I'm just not going to deal with them today. So whatever. We'll see if we can get it to work. But there was a clip about a ruling in Pennsylvania yesterday. The clip came out yesterday. I don't know if the ruling was yesterday. Oh, hold on. I thought I turned it off. My
Welcome back.
fault. Yeah, I know. All right, here we go. Yeah, a ruling in Pennsylvania where police officers do not need a warrant to search a car. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. That's yeah.
Now, obviously, in Pennsylvania, I am thinking that they probably don't have the castle clause.
I'm not sure.
If they do have the castle clause, and it probably doesn't include the vehicle. I know in some other states it does. But
right, your vehicle becomes your home, like when you're like broke down and stuff. So
right. So hold on, here we'll play this.
According to the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court, police officers no longer need warrants to search a person's vehicle. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled 4-2 that police officers can search a vehicle without a warrant as long as they have probable cause. Before the ruling, people were allowed to refuse an officer's request to search their vehicle. If they did, the officer would need a warrant signed by a judge to conduct the search. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling was a 4-2 decision. The case centered on a Philadelphia man who had 2 pounds of marijuana stashed under the vehicle's hood. He argued police did not have probable cause to search his car. Proponents say it will help officers find drivers who may have alcohol or drugs in their vehicles. Critics say the ruling gives too much power to police and will infringe on citizens' privacy. The ruling falls in line with federal law, which permits police to search a car without a warrant, as long as they have probable cause.
Now what the hell is that?
right, and their idea of probable cause is like that one I just read said.
Yeah.
Sitting up straight, putting your hands in the 10 and 2 position. I mean,
Or you look at them as you drive by.
or you have acne.
Yeah, or acne, yes. Well, looking at them as I drove by got me pulled over once, because I happened to look at them, and he
Right, you
locked
looked at
my
them
eyes.
suspiciously, you know.
Well, yeah, as I'm driving by, like, oh, look, there's a cop. Who doesn't
You know,
do that?
it's a natural. If a car's like next to you or something, you look over. I mean, it's a natural response.
I do if I pass a cop, so I don't anymore. I look straight ahead and pretend like I don't see them. Da 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 da. I'm doing exactly
Now that's
55. Yeah, it probably is. I just saw somebody, Free the Speeches, put this into chat. I wanted to read this, talking about how probable cause just found them 2 pounds of marijuana, so now they don't need a warrant in Pennsylvania. Well, listen to this. San Antonio, Texas. 9 former South Texas law officers were sentenced from between 9 to 17 years in federal prison for using their badges and police vehicles to move and sell large shipments of drugs, a federal court said on Wednesday. The 9, most of whom were from the so-called Panama Unit, made up law officers from jurisdictions organized to investigate the flow of illegal drugs coming from Mexico. Oh, and guess what? San Antonio's right on the main drag. And they were, so that was easy for them. They were sentenced this week on drug trafficking and other charges in U.S. District Court in the border city of McAllen, Texas. From 2010 to 2012, the 9 lawmakers used their positions to steal narcotics and cash from drug traffickers and provided them to other drug dealers who were paying them for protection. Prosecutors said, pretty nice plan there, huh?
I'm shocked.
Yeah, really. According to court documents, 4 of the men loaded 2 marked police vehicles with 40 kilograms of cocaine and drove the drugs past a border patrol checkpoint on the main road between the Rio Grande Valley and San Antonio. The men were paid $3,000 to $4,000 a trip. Occasionally, officers would escort drug shipments and pull off phony traffic stops to steal drugs from unknown traffickers. What do you think of them apples? I was trying to tell my dad, he still wants to go on that trip down in the Southwest. Yeah. And I told him the one thing you got to be careful of is I've seen a lot of that where they can pull you over, and if you have any cash in your car, you have anything of value, they can take that as a seizure.
Yeah.
And even if they don't find anything wrong and you're not convicted of anything, there are a lot of people that are still trying to fight to get like money back that they had. Maybe they were on vacation. They had a couple grand in their wallet. The cops took it.
Or going to buy a car, and you're going to pay cash. There's so many reasons to carry cash.
Yeah. But that makes you suspicious, remember? That was Department of Homeland Security. Don't pay for a hotel in cash.
Yeah, and one way that they know you have large amounts of cash in your car because they tested it here in Red Bluff on I-5. You know when the money started changing, the look of it and the different colors and stuff, they have readers that can read large amounts of cash.
Well, I think they could actually locate it remotely, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you pass by, they tested it for like a year and a half down there. And one lady, they took her money. She was on her way to buy a house and, could prove where she got her money, how she got her money. They confiscated it anyway, but the way they detected it was with that reader that's out there by the truck stop at the highway patrol.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, Ban in chat said it's guilty until proven guilty. That's pretty much it. There was a clip a few days ago that it actually said that literally our justice system has turned into you are now all guilty until you prove your innocence. And it's not supposed to be that way, right? We were always innocent until proven guilty. And
that's why they threw us in jail until we can prove that we didn't do it.
So we didn't do it, right. Right. And what's even worse is that you can have an accuser that doesn't need to be identified.
I know.
We've talked about that so many times, the informants. And so when I see stuff like they're tempting these kids with the lack of jobs out there, that alphabet agencies are going to give them a job, inform on your friends, we'll send you to specialized training, and then you just have to give us 5 years of your life working for us when you get out of school.
Look at all the goodies you'll be able to buy with that money. You can have the newest cell phone, the newest gadget. Yep.
It's very frightening. It's very frightening.
Disgusting is what it is, you know? I mean, when's a kid supposed to have a childhood?
Well, yeah, but I mean, informing on your friends, that's like all kids have that tattletale component in them, especially if you had a sibling and you had an obnoxious sibling like I did, or I don't know, I'm sure my sister could say like she did, but, we were always trying to get each other into trouble. And, I do things like just hold my finger near my sister. I wouldn't touch her, but I'd hold it near her and she'd be like, Mom!
Aggravator.
Jules got her finger, she couldn't say, Mom, Jules touching me, but she could say, Mom, Jules, she's annoying me.
Yeah. And kids don't realize, I don't think, the full consequences of what their actions are going to do when they do that,
No, they don't.
Yeah,
that's like when they take kids to the sheriff's station downtown and you walk in and there's all these tables with the glass tops on them with smoking paraphernalia, and then they take them through and they give them a cannabis education, bring them back to class and tell the students that, if you happen to see any of this stuff, just make sure you come back to school and you tell your teacher if you see this stuff at home. I remember that happening when I was a kid, going in 3rd grade, and that's what they told us. They showed us this film. We went to the sheriff's department. They're showing us all this paraphernalia. And before he left, he told us to make sure that if we saw any of that stuff at home, to tell our teacher.
The DARE program.
Well, I think that's what it is now. It's mutated into DARE. Back then it was just the 1970s and pot smoking was rampant, so I'm sure that that's what that was all about. But, I've seen stories where kids have turned their parents in, not realizing their parents are going to go to jail.
And they're not going to have a home.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's really horrible, and I think it's the same concept now going on with, see something, say something. I was talking to my dad, too, this week about just some of this crap we've seen where now there's terrorists coming out of every bit of woodwork. Everywhere you look, there's a terrorist or a potential terrorist.
According to Reed,
right?
yeah.
Right, anything. Yeah, we're all terrorists, but, we listened to a few things and read a few things. We are following, even in the military now, with this new cyber patrol, everyone should be suspect. And they were talking about radicalized Americans, Americans now becoming jihadist. And how does this happen, right? We heard a few of those. And the reoccurring theme is, it takes a long time and it could be anybody. Pretty much we have all been demonized now. Every single one of us. Oh, what are some of the telltale signs? Well, dissatisfaction with your government. How many people are not dissatisfied right now?
Put over half the country in prison then.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, at least now man, there's been so many clips. And this is the one thing that sucks about being gone. Here it is. Here's the do not cower in fear of your government. Here's the resident from RT. I always skip her music, but she always has a good report. And we had listened to the one about 50% of Americans are now afraid that the government's going to kill you. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Well, here's a new one, this Rasmussen report. 37% of all Americans polled are actually now afraid of the federal government.
And with good reason.
With very good reason. So here, we'll play this one.
Okay.
Maybe. Hold on. Skip the tunes.
Rasmussen reports often conduct polls about how Americans feel about their government. And I always take them with a grain of salt. Especially because they never call me and ask for my opinion. And because sometimes they just ask ridiculous questions, like, who would run the government better? Zombies or our current Congress? But they conducted a new poll recently, and something stuck out in this one that showed a new element of how terrible Americans feel about their government. And that new element is fear. 37% of the people surveyed said that they actually fear the federal government now. They're no longer just disappointed in them like they used to be. Now they actually fear them. And that might be because more than half of the people surveyed also said that the federal government is actually a threat to individual liberty too. The report takes a look at lots of interesting aspects of who fears the government most. Men said they feared the government more than women and younger voters did, interestingly enough. Republicans said they're scared of Uncle Sam more than Democrats. 42% of voters with a gun in their house said they feared the government, as did more than half of union members that were polled. There's also more information in the poll about how everyone thinks the government isn't representing us, but we're used to hearing that. When it comes to that kind of run-of-the-mill disgruntlement, nothing beats their poll last fall that confirmed that more than a third of Americans think zombies would do a better job. But it's one thing to say they suck at their jobs or that they're corrupt. It's another to actually fear them. And even though it's as terrible as it gets for people to fear their government, I'd say it's about time for us to be scared of what's going on in Washington. Because when we have a bunch of corrupt jerks making rules that govern every aspect of our lives, we should be scared. When our government is turning into a giant oligarchy that is purposely growing a high-tech police and surveillance state to watch and control us, we should be scared. So the question is, do we run and hide all scared in our homes with our TVs and our Facebook? Or do we start to wake up and fight against the scary machine? I guess we'll know which way Americans will go when we see what zombies they elect to office next. Tonight, let's talk about that by following me on Twitter @TheResident.
Now she brings up a good point, but I think she missed the whole story. Yes, this surveillance state that's watching everything we do and cracking down on everything we do. But in the meantime, they're all corrupt. Right?
I know. Why don't they ask that question?
I mean, just like we just read, about the San Antonio Police Department. No big freaking surprise. Hasn't that happened in LA a couple times?
Oh yeah. One community fired every police force.
Right.
The whole law enforcement.
I remember that. And I mean, let's take a look at, Eric Holder. Wait, oh goodness, I forgot. Criminal Attorney General Eric Holder. You know, how about the president? How about the State Department? How about, half the Congress that's millionaires and insider trading? Yeah, it's pretty disgusting.
They're calling us terrorists. Look at Reed. He's saying, you know, if you stand up to them, you're a terrorist right off the bat.
Well, it's even beyond Reed. I mean, go back even like 2, maybe even 3 years ago when they released that first list of 100 things that makes you a suspected terrorist. And there was the list of words, remember? Mm-hmm. I think, Mexico and, there were some crazy words on that list. Mm-hmm. But then they came out with actions that was sweating, looking at your watch.
Burns on your hand.
Yeah. I'm trying to find, there was a story that came out over the week, probably a day or two ago from Madison about, the NDAA. The judge will not even, I guess there was a challenge to the NDAA, and there were so many stories. Let me go to his page. Maybe it'll be easier to find it there. There was a challenge to the NDAA in, Supreme Court. I'm not sure what state yet, but I will let you know. Hopefully it was Washington DC, which is not actually a state, but it is the establishment. And, they shot it down. Oh yeah, here, I did just pass it. Supreme Court refuses. They refuse to hear a case challenging indefinite detention under the NDAA.
Right. With no excuse, no explanation.
The United States Supreme Court this week effectively ended all efforts to overturn a controversial 2012 law that grants the government the power to indefinitely detain American citizens without due process. On Monday, the High Court said that it won't weigh in on challenge filed by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Chris Hedges and a bevy of other co-plaintiffs against U.S. President Barack Obama, ending for now a 2.5-year debate concerning part of an annual Pentagon spending bill that since 2012 has granted the White House the ability to indefinitely detain people, quote, who are part of or substantially support Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or associated forces engaging in hostilities against the United States, unquote. The Obama administration has long maintained that the provision, Section 1021B2 of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2012, merely reaffirmed verbiage contained within the authorization for use of military force signed by then President G.W. Bush in the aftermath of September 11th. However, opponents argue that the language in Section 1021 of the NDAA is overly vague and could be interpreted in a way that allows for the government to detain without trial any American citizen accused of committing, quote, belligerent acts against the country until the end of hostilities. Now, wasn't the NDAA and this whole indefinite detention act kind of what they tossed out there for being eligible or ineligible to assassinate Americans with drones?
I think so.
I think that was kind of what they were drawing on there. And now we've heard of 4 Americans killed without due process. Also, just one other side note, and we'll get back here, but as Karzai is leaving power in Afghanistan, he had 2 terms. I guess his second term is up. There are free elections going on now. Not sure how that's going. I haven't seen much unrest, but I don't know if they're actually voting yet. But there are at least 2 candidates I saw the other day. BBC had a story. But here's something interesting. So they've been coming out bitching about our drones for a long time. But now Karzai announces that there are 6 secret prisons, Guantanamo-esque, in Afghanistan that are being run by the U.S. and the UK.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I had to kind of laugh. I was like, wow, is that because the shopping bags full of money are going to stop here soon?
Yeah.
And, they had him keep his mouth shut with the shopping bags. And now that he's out of office, he's like, screw you. I'm going to tell him all about the secret prisons that you let Halliburton build. I don't know if they built them, but I bet they did.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And I bet there's mercenaries probably running them too.
Oh yeah. This country has fallen so far, in regards to respect or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Here, I'm going to read the very end of this. It says, on Monday this week, activist and co-plaintiff Tangerine Bolin wrote that the High Court's decision to ignore the case means that, quote, the fundamental rights of due process and our fundamental rights of free speech and association no longer matter. And yes, you got to remember all the social media and beyond that, even just like chat rooms or forums or websites that you go to are all being tracked. And if you go to some place like, I don't know, what was that Al-Qaeda website where they were posting that new high glossy, monkey wrench guide online? Do you remember that? There's been a couple clips about that. And they gave the website and everything. I mean, come on. Everybody's going to go out there, but the second you go out there, your name just got on a red list. That's because it's by association. They don't care. You don't need to chum around and hang out. All you had to do was go there and show interest.
Yep, and watch anything that you type in a chat room because it could very well eventually go against you.
Well, not even type. There was a story a few months back about, they're scraping Facebook for all these different sociological programs now at the universities. They're using this to study human interaction, right, in real time. Not giving it away who you are, but they're studying who your connections are and how often you communicate and the type of stuff you share and all the connections between people to try to understand. I'm thinking it's all about the artificial intelligence project. They've also talked about being able to use it for pre-crime, right? They want to be able to statistically determine what your next moves are going to be. But in one of the articles that I read, it said that there is another program that they are doing, it was at Harvard or Stanford, where not only are they taking all the text that is written between people, but they're taking the unwritten text. Things that you typed into Facebook and then never hit enter. They're capturing all that data as well.
Well, remember a couple of years ago when Obama was talking about pre-crime. If they think you are going to commit a crime, they can put you in prison.
Yep. And you're seeing that now. There was something just the other day that happened that the guy was totally set up. I think actually it was last Friday when we were on. We talked about it. The guy was totally set up. Like, they gave him everything. They approached him. They offered him stuff. And then they got him all ready to roll. And they're like, ha, we busted another terrorist. Look at that.
Yeah, and wasn't he, like, mentally, challenged too? I mean, it was a pawn shop or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a few months ago, that one.
Oh.
But yeah, and that's what worries me, because you have these teenage kids. So now I find out that they're putting drug moles into my school, right? And it's because we were not too far from the Indian reservation. This is some big Indian reservation thing now that they're doing because of the drug problem and the alcohol problem. So now they're going to try to nip it in the bud. And we had a lot of kids from the reservation that we went to school with because, we weren't that far away. And, so because of that, my high school gets the drug mole. Well, first of all, how many high school kids aren't smoking pot?
Right.
Okay. And I mean, there were some that weren't. True. I bet they wish they were now. As adults, damn, look at all the fun I missed out on. But, how many high school kids aren't smoking pot? And so you're going to screw up a kid's life because they smoked a joint in high school? Or they were taking caffeine pills or whatever. I mean, I could see if it was like heroin, which of course, there was another story. There were 3 or 4 of them that came out over the last few days about the bumper poppy crops again in Afghanistan and how great it's been. But on the flip side, aren't we also seeing stories about, the heroin epidemic is off the scales? Why is that?
Well, I would think our government's providing it, maybe?
Maybe. Yeah, cash cow. So as we've been over there, quote unquote, guarding Afghanistan, we've been shipping them back. I mean, you see, I laugh every time there's a story about a big package of cocaine that accidentally shows up at the Vatican. But don't, addressed to the Pope. But that happens a lot. And you hear these stories about large scale corruption with, drug and gun running at these high levels of our government or police forces. And how can you take any of this seriously? But then you have these states, you have prisons overflowing. I saw that there were all these prisoners that died either last week or the beginning of this week in Texas because of the heat, right? Because their prisons are just busting at the seams. Why is that? Because just a tiny bit of pot's going to get you in jail. That's why. Well, okay. So my friend and I were looking at this the other day. Like, where's more profit? Putting you in jail for a roach in your ashtray, or having legalized pot and charging 40% tax? Well, guess what? It's the present industrial complex that makes more money. Look at all the jobs. Look at all the industry. Look at all the buildings. Look at all the stuff you can manufacture with 23 cents an hour labor.
while people are on the streets that aren't in prison.
Right. And they're getting ready to let them go. I didn't realize that they hadn't done that yet, where they were going to let a lot of the, what they call nonviolent offenders go.
Well, in California, Brown got an extension because he hasn't fulfilled the quota that they gave him to reduce the prison population by it was some menial amount though, 3,000 and something, and he hadn't met that. But what he's doing in the meantime is building another private prison.
No kidding.
Nope. Not kidding at all. In fact, he's going, well, we're having trouble figuring out where to place these prisoners. Like, they're not going to release them. They're going to just, move them around wherever they have an extra bed. It's pathetic.
Now, does California have death penalty?
Yes, we do.
You do?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we do.
New York used to, but I don't think they do it anymore. I know when I was a kid, I remember an execution or two, but I don't think that they do that anymore. I think it's just life. But you saw that whole thing that happened in Oklahoma, right?
Which thing was that?
With the botched, what they call the botched execution. And there's a big story behind that. Texas. The one thing that gets me about Texas is that they have these busting, overflowing prisons, and they have the death penalty, and they give the death penalty out pretty easily. And if you remember back probably 6 or so months ago, we had covered a story where there were a couple of them actually, people that had spent 20 years in prison on death row to then be exonerated, as technology's getting better. And there have been quite a number of those. There was actually a story that came out the other day talking about a large majority of people that are spending life in prison are potentially innocent. Or
already killed. Like in Texas has the highest rate of executions of any of the other states.
Well, right. And not only that, but then Perry, shortly after we had done that story, Perry had come out and was pushing for getting speedier executions, right? So not even giving people time to become exonerated if they are saying that they were wrongly accused. So then there was an issue with the death drugs, right? There were a few companies that were making them. One in particular I was reading was in France. They are against the death penalty over there, and so because of what we were using the drug for, I guess they decided to stop selling it. Yep. And so there was the big drug shortage for the death penalty chemicals to put you under. So now this new concoction that they're using, they're not telling you who the drugs are coming from, so it's not published, and I did quite a bit of research. I was going to try to ferret out who the weasel company was that was selling it to them, but I couldn't find it. It was all, undisclosed. But so there's 3 drugs I found though, and one of them is the drug that they actually use to put animals to sleep. And so this was this new concoction. So the Oklahoma, Texas, and there were a few more states. I want to say North Dakota or Wyoming, Montana, one of those states up there, was one of the other states that have been waiting for it. And, there were supposed to be 2 executions this week scheduled in Oklahoma. They started the first one. They put the guy down. They had the witnesses. They started the first drip. The first drip went. They started the second and the third drip, and then his veins started blowing out of his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then they tried to stop the execution. And I guess the guy was twitching and stuff on the table, so they closed all the curtains. So the witnesses are traumatized from what they saw. And they were not able to stop the execution. The guy died of a heart attack, but they decided to stop the second execution. So now that Kearney, White House spokesman, who I noticed he isn't trying to grow his peach fuzz anymore, Kearney came out and he's saying that now this was not humane.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. But I mean, what death penalty is humane? Seriously. I mean, wasn't there the one state talking about with the shortage, they were looking at going back to the death squad, the shooting squads.
Or guillotines, it's insanity that we're, America, the home of the free.
Yeah.
Need we say more?
But then we hear a report that 37% of Americans are afraid of the government. Well, why would you not be?
Yeah.
Right?
When they're executing innocent people, or that, like, finding out later that the police at the time, built a case against the person with false evidence, and then they just release them, and nothing happens to the people that falsified the information to put that man on death row.
Yeah, either false evidence from an informant that you don't need to be told who it is, or false evidence because they were paying. If you remember, we listened to that one. I think that was in Massachusetts. They were paying the whatever they call her, the lab chick. Yeah. For conviction. So she was falsifying results. And I mean, there were thousands of cases.
Oh, and since then, it's come up in quite a few cities that the people working in the lab are falsifying a lot of the lab results.
And now
jail.
No, nobody's going to jail. Well, I think that woman in the lab went to jail.
I think she got 3 years. And look at the lives she just literally destroyed.
Yeah, and now the taxpayer dollars, because they have to go through the evidence. A lot of the evidence was destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a massive lawsuit waiting to happen, and probably tying up the courts for many, many, many years.
Except for I haven't heard of any of the cases being, not publicized, of course.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any of that either. But you have all this, and then you hear stories like, oh, whoops, in Pennsylvania, now they don't need a search warrant to search your car. And
New
whoops,
Mexico.
And, cell phones now, too. Did you see that? No search warrant for your cell phone either. And they said that they want to be able to do that. So if you had a kill switch or an auto erase, they're going to get to it before you can get rid of all the evidence.
And how many people put their whole lives on their phone?
Well, I got pictures of wherever I go,
Mm-hmm.
You text.
And can be used against you later on. Anything that you said on your phone or did or saved on your phone, maybe they won't use it right now, but later down the road, say you get a speeding ticket and they'll bring it up. Well, we have this information from your phone from, back when. It's scary. It is scary, and people need to be scared.
They do need to be scared. I was thinking too about how in the old days, if you had a ticket, let's say, I have friends who have tickets from other states that they've managed to stay out of that state for 20 years,
Parking tickets out of.
Whatever, yeah. And, don't think that they're not going to start putting all that together. Up until now, the DMVs haven't really been working together, but if you've paid attention to, especially what's going on in Colorado now that they have legalized recreational marijuana, they have, and this was even before they legalized it, there was a huge campaign with these license plate scanners, and I think they're doing a lot of that now in the Southwest, where they're keeping a massive database. They are scanning license plates at tolls, at traffic lights,
in parking lots.
In parking lots, yes. That K5 robot that they're releasing, I don't remember the name of the company, but it looked like a little R2-D2 unit. That was one of the big things it was going to do, was to patrol parking lots and scan license plates.
Yep. So and they always put it out like a good thing, like, we'll be able to spot a stolen car.
Increase revenue.
Right.
Yeah, here, I'm going to look up, let's look up license plate.
Yeah, they read something like 250 a minute, something like that.
And you know what? They've been having great success with it, but how fair is that? As they're coming down on us, we're going to find out we can't get away with anything. Now, okay, if I were a law-abiding citizen, which I am, I would say, well, good, get all the criminals. But if that means ruining somebody's life because of a 20-year unpaid parking ticket in college, or decimating somebody's finances, or sticking them in jail for 3 months out of state so they end up losing their job, that's absolute utter bullshit. Why don't you work on getting the crime off the streets now? How about all those home invasions going on in Detroit?
Mm-hmm. Well, now they're sending SWAT teams out to collect bills, that you owe. It's really it's getting real scary. And these are just the things we know about.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's what my dad was saying. He's like, oh, he had me watching the one night. I never watched TV, so I did. I drooled in front of the television for a couple hours while we hung out, and he made me watch one of the CSI shows. I haven't seen one of those in years, but I gotta say, when they were going after the criminals and they had their big, screen, wall screens with all their high-tech gear, and it's going through the face pictures and it's doing the facial recognition. I was like, Pops, man, they got that shit. He's like, Jules, they got 20 years beyond that. I was like, I'm sure they do.
Yep.
I'm sure they do.
I mean, we never find out about things until they've already been, applied it out there.
You better believe they're going to have facial recognition on drones. I know I've read that somewhere, but they are going to have it. They got those Argus 5.1 gigapixel 24/7, over an entire city cameras already on them. Mm-hmm. They're going to be able to scan your face. I'm sure they're going to be able to decide whether or not you're on the red kill list with their power laser. Yeah, and you have acne and you're sweating.
Yep.
Or you're jogging. Did you see that one story about the cop a couple weeks back? The woman was jogging or walking, taking her morning walk down the road, but she was walking with traffic, and you're supposed to be walking against traffic, and I guess this cop pulled up on his bicycle and said, hey, I want to talk to you. What's your name? And so she's totally ignoring him, thinking he was some kind of creep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the dude ended up tackling her because she wouldn't stop and answer his questions. Now, and it was after she started running, okay? He tackled her. And here's the thing. Yeah, you're in a police uniform. Yeah, you're asking me questions, but I've also seen enough police stories of chicks getting raped on the roadside or anal probes because your buttocks clenching that are absolutely unnecessary. You know what I mean? So
anyone can buy a police uniform.
That's very true. You got some creepy cop coming up like, hey, baby, what's your name? That's the way I would take it. I wouldn't be paying attention to you either. And then to tackle me, I would have been screaming my head off at that point. And I think, I don't remember if, actually we could probably find that story. I don't remember if they got her for resisting arrest or not. But that's absolutely unfucking appropriate. Can I say that this early in the morning? Because it sure is. The lady was out taking her morning walk. She shouldn't have to answer questions about who she is or what she's doing.
Exactly.
What does it look like, dipshit? That would be my answer. I'm walking. Well, you were walking the wrong direction.
Yeah, well, it's just like, I don't think you heard the show, but a friend of mine here in town got pulled over by the police, and he had her get out of the car, and he searched her. He lifted her breast, put his hands in her pocket, and then said, I'm going to search your car. And she goes, you have no reason to do that. And he goes, shut up and stand there. And he started searching her car. All of this against, her wishes. And then after he did that and he was looking in the car, then he called for backup. But, it was illegal what he did. And he did not have the right to touch her in the places that he did. And the thing is, being in a little small community, now if you go turn this officer in, your life becomes a living hell. But then if you don't, it could happen again. So, it's kind of a catch-22.
Mm-hmm. Here, I found the story. Yes, she was jogging. A video posted, so this is from the end of February, so this was already a couple months, it feels like it was only a couple weeks ago, but it was a few months ago. A video posted Thursday by a UT, University of Texas student showing a young woman being arrested is gaining national attention. The video shows 24-year-old Amanda Jo Stevens in handcuffs sitting on the sidewalk at 24th and San Antonio Street, near the University of Texas campus. Moments later, she's captured yelling and cursing at Austin police officers as they load her into a police car. Christopher Quintero shot the video. Quote, she was running away past the cops. She was not running from them, but jogging, and they grabbed her arm from behind. I don't know if this is the same story or another one, and this might actually be another one. And I think it's perfectly understandable that she was kind of startled, and they jerked her arm away. She jerked her arm away and was like, "Who's grabbing me?" Police Chief Art Avacero says there's a lot more to the story. The officers were working on an initiative to cut down on pedestrian and bicycle violations this week. This week they are focusing on jaywalkers.
But she was on the side of the road, right? She wasn't crossing the road. She was jogging.
Yeah, here, actually, there's a video. Let me see if I can play it.
So what they're really saying is stay
it's
in your home.
It's been another great year.
Hold on.
GMC, and we're celebrating.
Hold on. It's a dumb commercial. Sorry. All right. You ready? 2, 1.
The Austin Police Department is getting national attention for the arrest of a jogger caught on video. Officers say Amanda Jo Stephen ignored a traffic signal and ran past officers yelling at her to stop. KVU's Ashley Godot is live at Dean Keaton and Whitest Street on the UT campus. Ashley, Chief Art Acevedo says he's not making any apologies tonight.
Not at all, Terry. He says that his officers are taking part in an initiative to improve public safety. Now, that accident happened yesterday, and just this morning, a woman was hit by a Capital Metro bus not too far from this intersection. She was a pedestrian, and Acevedo says she was doing the same thing, jaywalking. That's why Acevedo says if this national attention is coming because the police officers are doing what they're supposed to, he welcomes it. By now, you may have seen or heard about this video. Thursday morning, a jogger sits handcuffed on the sidewalk at 24th and San Antonio near the UT campus. Moments later, she's captured yelling and cursing at officers as they load her into a police car. UT student Christopher Quintero shot the video.
She was running away past the cops, not running from them, but jogging, and they grabbed her arm from behind. And so I think it's perfectly understandable that she kind of was startled and jerked her arm away. Who's grabbing me?
But Police Chief Art Acevedo says there's a lot more to the story. The officers are working to cut down on pedestrian and bicycle violations. This week, the focus is jaywalkers. Today, our cameras caught numerous people ignoring the stop signal and unlawfully crossing the street.
We do it all the time here. The traffic here is so bad. I mean, we just have to walk when we can.
Acevedo says the jogger, 24-year-old Amanda Jo Stephen, did the same thing, even as the officers had another person stopped for jaywalking.
Where he can see her face and she can see his face, yells, "Austin Police, I need to stop." She still doesn't stop. So he grabs her arm and says, "I need you to stop." She then at some point takes off her earbuds and he says, "Austin Police, I need you to stop." And she says, to the effect, "I don't give an effing who you are. Get your effing hands off of me."
Acevedo says she failed to identify herself to the officers and says that's a misdemeanor in Texas, so they arrested her. And on this, the same day...
Hold the phone. Everyone's saying we have no sound. Can you guys hear me? I see my flash just crashed. Hold on one second. We'll find out. We'll do the Jeopardy theme music. Do 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 do. All right, I just messaged Paul. Maybe the encoder crashed because I am still connected to the radio network.
I've been getting a lot of crashes lately.
Oh God, my computer that has been having the reboot issues is now, I mean, it must have been between late last evening and this morning 10 times. It just shut down all by itself. All right, let's see. Can anybody hear me? Hear me?
Oh, the delay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get up. Oh, hold on.
You can't hear us.
All right. Uno momento, por favor. Damn. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Here, you do the Jeopardy theme.
I don't know except for the very beginning. Do 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 do
Dude.
do.
All
That
right.
ganger's having fun.
Yeah, you know what? I need him to get into the encoder. That's the only other thing that well, you know what? Here, let's kill UCY radio and call it again. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, yellow. Let's see if we can get this working now. We will try it again. If not, then we're going to have to get in. Well, it's going to take a second because of delay.
Yeah. Wait, there was someone coughing in the feed.
I wasn't coughing.
Wasn't coughing.
That's okay. Maybe it sounded like coughing. I'm still not getting anything playing through the player here. Oh, wait, I hear dead air. It might be coming. There we are.
Okay, they say not
right.
yet.
Yeah, now it is. Now it is.
Okay, the delay, so that's probably...
Refresh.
Ah.
Yay. So, I don't know, something happened to the,
Okay, they got us.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Something happened to the Skype. Okay, let me just tell him we're back.
Okay.
We're back. Alright, so they didn't hear that clip. Damn it. Let me back it up just a little bit. So this is the Austin jogger that got nailed by the cop because she jogged through a light and they were doing a crackdown on jaywalking in Austin.
And you know, I always wondered, like, when the captain says, oh, I approve of what they did. What if they did that to his wife? Would he be so readily to approve?
Well, very true. And I agree, alright, some chick got hit by a bus, but that's no reason to go tackling and arresting people for peaceably jogging down the street.
Well, you know, if one person does something stupid, we're all guilty.
Well, right. And guns shoot people.
Mm-hmm. All by themselves.
All by themselves, yeah. Alright, so we're gonna try this clip again. Here, wait, I gotta connect myself. I have to join the call. Here we go. Alright. We're gonna do it again.
Okay.
The Austin Police Department is getting national attention for the arrest of a jogger caught on video. Officers say Amanda Jo Stephen ignored a traffic signal and ran past officers yelling at her to stop. KVU's Ashley Godot is live at Dean Keaton and Whitus Street on the UT campus. Ashley, Chief Art Acevedo says he's not making any apologies tonight.
Not at all, Terry. He says that his officers are taking part in an initiative to improve public safety. Now, that accident happened yesterday, and just this morning, a woman was hit by a Capital Metro bus not too far from this intersection. She was a pedestrian, and Acevedo says she was doing the same thing, jaywalking. That's why Acevedo says if this national attention is coming because the police officers are doing what they're supposed to, he welcomes it. By now, you may have seen or heard about this video. Thursday morning, a jogger sits handcuffed on the sidewalk at 24th and San Antonio near the UT campus. Moments later, she's captured yelling and cursing at officers as they load her into a police car. UT student Christopher Quintero shot the video.
But she was running away past the cops, not running from them, but jogging, and they grabbed her arm from behind. And so I think it's perfectly understandable that she kind of like was startled and jerked her arm away. Who's grabbing me?
But Police Chief Art Acevedo says there's a lot more to the story. The officers are working to cut down on pedestrian and bicycle violations. This week, the focus is jaywalkers. Today, our cameras caught numerous people ignoring the stop signal and unlawfully crossing the street.
We do it all the time here. The traffic here is so bad. I mean, we just have to walk when we can.
Acevedo says the jogger, 24-year-old Amanda Jo Stephen, did the same thing, even as the officers had another person stopped for jaywalking.
Where he can see her face and she can see his face, yells, Austin police, I need to stop. She still doesn't stop. So he grabs her arm and says, I need you to stop. She then at some point takes off her earbuds and he says, Austin police, I need you to stop. And she says, to the effect, I don't give an effing who you are. Get your hands off of me.
Well, yeah.
She failed to identify herself to the officers and says that's a misdemeanor in Texas, so they arrested her. And on this, the same day a jury convicted a man for killing an Austin police officer, Acevedo calls the national attention petty.
I thank God that this is what passes for a controversy in Austin, Texas. And I stand here proudly as a police chief saying that I'm proud that this is the controversy.
Are you kidding me?
Today, on the day that we're actually convicting somebody of capital murder. And I'm glad that I'm here having to address mediocrity.
Now, APD says officers arrested Stephen for failing to identify herself to a police officer and for crossing against that red light.
Did she just say they arrested her for failing to identify herself?
For running, jogging, I guess, a red light. But did you catch that? They said she had eye contact with the police officer, and so he grabbed her arm. Well, that guy said she was running, jogging along, and they grabbed her arm from behind. Now, how do you have eye-to-eye contact from behind?
And she had earbuds on.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even. Now, what, I just saw a story yesterday. Did you see now there's 3 schools, I believe they're Catholic schools, they're gonna start hair testing children for drugs.
No. Oh, God.
Hair testing kids in schools.
They want them from school? I mean, what, are they gonna open up a new prison for elementary school kids?
Yeah, with the informants and the hair tests. And, I mean, like I said, I can't even believe they're putting drug moles in my high school. I remember a few times as a kid where they sent the dogs through. They told us that they were bringing dogs in, they were gonna sniff lockers. And everyone's like, oh shit.
Yeah, run for it.
Uh-oh. But there were probably only a few people that had to worry about that. But let me see if I can find that story. Hair testing. Yeah, Cleveland. High schools to drug test using company of school's president's brother. And they're gonna drug test. So not only are they drug testing students' hair, but they're making sure they keep it in the family. I don't know, this just disgusts me. Austin Police Department, is there nothing better to do than to bust jaywalkers and bicycle riders?
And they're conditioning the kids to give up their pieces of their hair, and it's wrong. In every sense of the word, it is wrong. And I don't see how these parents are going along with this.
Well, this is, guilty until proven innocent. So now you're all drug users unless you give us hair.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're all criminals because you don't know how to ride a bike or to cross a street properly.
Well, remember a couple of years back when they did a raid on that high school, and it showed them with their guns out, with the kids cowering down against the lockers, and they found nothing, but they put all these kids through this traumatic experience.
Yeah. That was also, there was that other one with, the school bus, and they were doing the terrorism test.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that one? And the kids didn't know?
And they were watching it closed circuit or something.
Yeah, closed circuit TV, the parents and the administrators, but the kids didn't know. I don't know.
That's traumatic. I mean, my God. What parent would allow them to do that knowingly to their children?
It's okay, because your kid will know what to do if their bus is ever hijacked.
Man, and if that wasn't it teenage kids? Because in my day, if someone would have got on a bus like that, the guys would have jumped them.
Oh, you mean in school?
Yeah, in the school bus going to school. And then someone probably could have got hurt real bad. That they're out of control. There's no if, ands, or but about it. Our law enforcement are out of control, and they have to be stopped.
Well, you just reminded me of something that I ran across on the news yesterday, and this was in New York State. And I've been saying this for a long time, that I bet schools aren't doing this. And then this news story came out. I'm like, you have got to be freaking kidding me. Here's the thing. How many of the schools have a sex offender database that they run every single adult that has interaction with the school, especially during the school day with children? How many do you think?
I don't know.
Because I don't know. And I don't know if they are. I mean, I remember in high school, I gotta tell you, there was shit that went on between students and teachers. There was stuff that were rumored, you know what I mean? But rumored through people that you knew well, so you're pretty sure it was true. Well, get this. New York State is now banning or backing a ban on sex offenders getting licenses to drive school buses.
Oh, gee.
I was like, what?
You mean they're allowed to now?
Yeah! Yes!
Oh my God.
Yes! Yes! Hold on. Let me pull up the story. Yes! It was on the news, and I was with my dad. I'm like, are you kidding me? So they're letting sex offenders drive school buses right now?
Must be if they're, everything's upside down. I can't.
Registered sex offenders could soon be prohibited from working as bus drivers in New York. The Senate on Monday passed legislation that would prohibit registered sex offenders from driving a school or a passenger bus. So apparently they can drive either or right now.
Exactly.
Under the bill sponsored by Senator Carl Marcelino, the Department of Motor Vehicles would be barred from issuing or renewing a commercial driver's license to operate a bus to people who are required to register as a sex offender. The Long Island Republican said bus operators are in contact with vulnerable people daily, which he says is dangerous, and licensing them makes no sense. The bill has been sent to the Assembly. Now, yeah, a bus driver would be dropping you off like for a child at your house. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is so frigging frightening.
So if you want to know where kids live, become a school bus driver.
That is frightening.
And that they allowed it before. I mean, it's obvious that they weren't running checks for it before.
Well, yeah, and I've said this though for years. I'm like, I wonder, because when my kid first went to school, there was no, I was doing network installs and stuff. So one of the things I paid attention to was what type of security they had in the school. They didn't have cameras, they didn't have door locks, they had nothing. So I had a fit a couple times. And, I drove up, I stalked the school for a while when school first started. I'd go pull in the parking lot and I'd watch what they were doing. They'd have the front doors wide open. And I think I talked about this. The one day that I walked in and there was no one at the front desk and I managed to walk in the school without signing in and then turned around and went apeshit in the office. Oh, I went crazy in there. I was like, what if I were a crazy person and I had a gun? And of course, this is before school shootings. I probably wouldn't dare say that now.
You probably would have got arrested.
But I was so pissed. I was like, you're supposed to be watching my kid as well as I do, if not better. And I just walked in. I could have been hiding in the bathrooms. I was so mad. Now, of course, they have all this security. They got the door swipes and whatever, but I will guarantee you that when you swipe your card, it is not doing a cross check against the sex offender database. And lo and behold, school bus drivers can be sex offenders too.
Like Maddie says, all current sexual predator bus drivers will be grandfathered.
Yeah, probably. What the hell is that? Who in their right mind would allow a sex offender to drive a school bus? And I mean, I know there are extenuating circumstances sometimes. I mean, if you're 19 and you got a 17-year-old girlfriend and the father doesn't like that you're 19, you very well can end up on that sex offender database. And that's, come on, 19, 17, that's not a big freaking deal. But if you're 42 and you're caught with an 8-year-old, I most certainly would want to freaking know about it. And when one moves into the area, I get a letter from the school saying, sex offenders move to, and they picture it and they tell you all about it and where the guy lives. How come I'm not getting letters about the sex offenders that are driving the school buses in the district? I really think I need to go to the next school board meeting and ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
And start talking about Common Core, because there was a video a few weeks ago that Verstein posted with the dad asking questions about Common Core and, how he moved his kids to this neighborhood because they had great scores. And now as he's looking into what they're teaching in this retarded way to do math, that they're preparing his kids to go to community college. He wants his kids to go to an Ivy League college.
Or preparing them just to go into the workforce.
Right. Well, right.
Yeah.
Just to go into the workforce. So he wanted to know what benefit that was and why they would be teaching these lower standards as opposed to wanting excellence out of children. I mean, we have such an issue right now with math and science and engineering and physics. Mm-hmm. We don't have enough people. That's what those H-1B visas are all about. Bringing in all the foreign workers to take our high-tech jobs. But it's very...
They're dumbing down our kids.
They are. But anyway, this dad got arrested. They arrested him. They slammed him against the wall because he wouldn't shut up. And they took him out of the room. That's gonna be me. And all he wasn't even belligerent. He was just asking questions.
He was upset, and naturally so. You know, I mean, that's your children. You're talking about their future. Of course, you're gonna be upset. You know, it's almost like it's against the law to get irritated or upset. You know, with school officials, with police, with anyone.
Anyone in a quote unquote authority.
Right. Be calm. While they
drink your lithium.
Yeah.
Drink your fluoride. Here, let's give you some more of that swish in school. Did you ever have to take that swish?
No. I never even heard of it.
Oh, it was this fluoride program. I don't know if it was nationwide. Hey, anybody out there in their 40s? Yes, that is a domestic terrorist ban. Ban said it's a domestic terrorist to go raise your voice at the school board.
Well, it's true. I mean, anymore, you raise your voice and you're going to jail.
Well, then I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Anyone in their 40s out there remember the Swish program? I don't know if it was just New York State or if it was nationwide, but there were these little red pills, and the teacher, I remember when the program first started, she got this jug with a pump on it, and once a week, she would put the red pill in and then fill it up with tap water, shake it up good, and the whole jug would turn this bright red, and I'm sure it was that cancer-causing red back in the 70s, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a couple of things I have to thank my mom for. There were a few. One, she always taught me to always ask questions and don't believe something because somebody tells me. And if I don't understand it, ask again and again and again and again and again and again until I get it. Yeah. Second thing, my mom kept us away from dyes and things of that nature. She was pretty savvy to that stuff, though. She was drinking saccharin pop and putting liquid saccharin on her grape nuts at the time. But she at least was hip to, like, red dye number 5, sugar cereals and things of that nature. We weren't allowed to have any of that. We had to have Roman Pride whole wheat bread. We never had white bread. So the Swish had red dye in it. So she didn't like that. And number 3, in the 70s, my mom was hip to fluoride. And she had always said, you don't need to have that in school. There's more than enough in the drinking water. Which, you know, she probably didn't get that. We probably shouldn't be drinking it at all, but at least she knew there was more than enough in the drinking water. So when they implemented this plan, once a week, the whole class, the teacher would drop the red pill into the jug, fill it up with tap water, shake it up, and it'd be this bright red. We'd all get the little Dixie cups, and she'd do squirt, 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 and we'd all line up in line, getting our Kool-Aid cup of red Swish, and we'd all have to then sit back down at our desk, and then she'd say, ready, go, and everyone would take it, and we'd have to swish for 60 seconds, and you'd watch that second hand tick around the clock. My mother said, no freaking way. You get more than enough fluoride at home. You don't need it. And she wrote us notes, so I never had to take that stuff. But really makes you wonder.
You know, what comes to mind is the Jones thing and the Kool-Aid. Everybody drink at once.
Yep. Yep. And be good little soldiers, drinking your fluoride to dumb you down.
Wow, I never heard of that. They didn't do it here, then, not that I heard of.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I'll have to ask. I'm sure JJ did it. I know at least in New York. I mean, we all did it here, but it might have been, the red pill or the blue pill.
Yeah.
Wait, so which is the good one? We were taking the red pill. Isn't that the good one?
I think the red pill's the bad one. Red is usually bad.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah. I'm just not taking no pills at all. Forget it.
Exactly. Well, you know, it's SSRIs. Oh, your kid's got ADD.
I know. 3-year-olds. Mm-hmm. How do you diagnose a 3-year-old to be in bipolar? That has gotten me since the day I read it. It's just that outrageous.
Well, and there's so many causes for mood disturbances and behavior disturbances that are all societal. You know, we've listened to Dr. Simon's show, and Dr. Simon and I have had a few conversations, and that's one of the big things that we were talking about is how our society is grooming these personalities. You know, there's the narcissistic, which is, you know, I'm the center of attention and I need instant gratification, and, you know, the television. When I was a technical trainer for quite a number of years, and I took all these classes and concepts of adult learning, and one of the things that we learn is that the adult attention span is only about 12 minutes. And I mean, this is probably 15 or 18 years ago. I could guarantee you it's probably shorter now, but the reason why it was only 12 minutes is because that was the time between commercials.
Exactly. You know, and I mean, we are the most drugged society on the globe.
We are. Well, because we're good profit to the pharmaceutical companies. Hey,
get them young.
Which reminds me, couple things I wanted to mention. So there's these 3 schools in Cleveland, 3 Catholic schools in Cleveland, Ohio will begin mandatory drug testing using students' hair in the next school year. The CEO of the company just happens to be the brother of one of the school's presidents. Gilmore Academy, St. Edward High School, and St. Ignatius High School announced the new policy to students and parents on Monday. The school will use Psychometrics Corporation for the drug tests on hair follicles. Psychometrics president and CEO Ray Kubaniak is the brother of St. Edward president James Kubaniak. He told the Cleveland Scene that the decision to work with psychometrics came after several years of research led by an internal committee made up by a board of trustees, faculty members, and members of the administration. Oh, I'll believe that one.
I have a question. Who's paying for it? Because that runs about $250 a test.
Yeah, I would be interested. Well, it's a private Catholic school, so probably the parents. Here, let's see. The school said the drug testing is preventative and not evidence of substance abuse among students. Quote, the school has decided to initiate drug testing out of a deep concern for the health and well-being of students. The primary purpose for this initiative is to give students another reason to say no to the pressures of using illegal drugs and help them remain substance-free. This initiative is simply one more component in our student wellness efforts. And yes, and we are preparing them for the workforce.
And you know, no to street drugs, but what? They can't wait to get you on SSRIs.
Right. Let's load them up.
Yeah.
Oh, here it says, hair testing kits cost between $39 to $50 each. Schools that currently work with psychometrics told The Scene, which is the newspaper in Cleveland, all high school students, about 980 at St. Ed's, 340 at Gilmore, and 1,500 at St. Ignatius will be subject to testing at the beginning of the 2014-15 school year. And then, random testing will occur throughout the year. The 3-year contract combined will pay Psychometrics nearly $120,000 for the initial testing alone.
There you go. Right there.
According to it is green. This is just horrible. What are you teaching your kid? You better be careful. Is this because there's not enough God in the world now to scare the shit out of people? You know, God's gonna get you if you're evil. Well, now we got drug tests, so you better not. Is this for the people who say, well, pot's a natural drug? God would be happy that we smoked it.
I don't think we're gonna go for that.
Doesn't float, man.
How about the kid that's in a room where it's being smoked, but they aren't, engaging in it?
Yeah,
they're going to be found guilty.
That question's been asked. Or eating poppy seed, lemon poppy seed muffins or bagels.
Yep.
According to the St. Ed statement, hair testing can detect drug use for up to 3 months. Make a note of it. The timing of the announcement gives students a 4-month warning before testing begins.
Get clean.
Yes, be clean, kids. The only good thing about this is that they announced it early, said one Ignatian student. They practically winked at us while saying that the test can detect drugs used up to 3 months prior, and the first test won't begin for 4 months. The student also noted, we were also told that shaved heads would not work as the test can be done with even arm hair. So as a side note, the students will likely just be drinking a lot more, unquote.
Yep. Send them to alcohol.
That's unbelievable.
I don't understand the parents putting up with this. I would never allow them to do that to my child when she was in school.
Oh, well, here's a parental quote, and I think this parent needs to be kicked in the ass. Why would you, if you really wanted your kid to be drug tested, they got home drug test kits. Why do you want this put into your kid's permanent record? I know I wouldn't. Hey, isn't that a family issue? Isn't that something that you do? I mean, obviously, if the kid's coming stoned and drunk to school every day, then maybe that is an escalated issue. But to be preemptively doing this?
Guilty before, and prove that you have not been doing drugs.
It's unbelievable. Okay, quote, my son attends SIHS, which is the acronym for one of the schools, St. Ignatius, whatever. And I don't see this as anything but a positive measure. I am grateful the administration cares enough to be this intrusive. I work in an ER and have seen all too often the results of teenage drug abuse. It's not pretty, said one St. Ignatius parent. If we can save family the tragedy of this epidemic, I'm all for it. Just because there's money to be made does not in any way indicate that this was a motivating factor. This is just another example of public/media trying to create unnecessary controversy over something, unquote. Well, let me tell you something, honey, dumbass, working in an ER. You must not have seen any of that zombie freaking fake pot drug then. That doesn't show up in drug tests. And you know what? Look at a CAT scan of somebody who does that stuff after they've been drooling.
Well, the parents
if
that
their
go
brain's
through this
dead
are the parents that aren't being parents. They want everyone else to take control. They're not talking to their kids. They don't trust their kids. It's another thing of, okay, well, I don't have to worry about that because the school's going to drug test him. So I don't have to, communicate with him every day and see how he's doing. It's disgusting.
Now, they do say students will not face punishment for a positive drug test, but will receive counseling and other assistance. I gotta tell you, I was listening to Jose yesterday. He's on the second half of What Matters Worldwide, Vince's show.
Good show, yeah.
Yes, but Jose was talking about counselors and going to a counselor and seeking help if you need it, and how it used to be a stigma in the past and it's not now, it's more socially acceptable. I like Jose, but I'm going to counter that.
Well, yes, because if you get a bad counselor, it's all according to...
But not even a bad counselor. Here's one thing you got to realize, is that in the past we were told that we have privacy laws and that what we discuss with our doctor or what medical treatments we have are private. They're not anymore. And not even because of Obamacare. I mean, that's a whole nother level of being able to tap now your database and sell your information. Getting rid of those pesky, Obama said specifically, getting rid of those pesky privacy laws, okay?
Right.
To be able to tell if someone went to go see a psychiatrist. And now they have issues and we're going to take their guns away. Your kid goes to see someone for drug issues. You don't think that that's going to affect them in the future? You don't think that that's going to be on a permanent record? You don't think if you have depression after a divorce and you go see a counselor that is not going to somehow affect you negatively in the future? I'm going to say bullshit to anyone who says that it's not.
That's true. I mean, now that, the doctors, have more or less have to give over their records.
Yeah,
and they're used against you.
They are, according to the federal government, the first line of defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be asking now about guns in the home and whether or not you get depressed. And I haven't been to a doctor in quite a few years now after I got all hip to this whole bullshit money-making scheme that they have here. putting you through the cycle, sending you to see this one and that one. You're dying from this, gotta get this, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? There was nothing wrong with you to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you would have changed your diet a little, I mean, that's one thing that they never ask about. Get off the GMOs. Get off the antibiotics. Get off the freaking garbage. Get off the growth hormone and the BPA and the chemicals and the pesticides. Maybe your autoimmune disease or all the other wacky stuff that we have no answers for, but we just ran $10,000 in tests that turn up no results. Maybe changing your diet and doing some morning exercises would fix it all.
That's been proven over and over and over.
I was an experiment for myself. It worked. Get off it. I don't know. It just disgusts me. So here we go. Let this be a test bed now, because you know that's what's happening. You know, they roll this stuff out in little areas and they go, wow, look at how great the drug testing is doing in our schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they're doing it here. I just can't even believe at my alma mater they're going to have drug moles.
It's teaching kids to be snitches too, and later on to be an informant, to get in and be deceitful and you know, I mean, that's building their character. Their character for life is being built in, and it's teaching them that it's okay to go in and act like you're somebody's friend just to turn on them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very disturbing. And that
very.
So we talked about drugs. I don't know. There's so much stuff here. I'm just looking. There was a story this is already from like a week ago. This dude got life in jail for selling LSD.
I seen that. Life.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are lesser things people have gotten life for, right? With the 3 strikes. We talked about that.
Yeah, your 3rd strike is stealing a Coke from Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah, and there have been people that have ended up doing that. We looked at
California, they changed that. And, well, whether they abide by it or not, your 3rd strike has to be a violent crime now.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, but whether they'll stick to that or not, because that was how it was originally supposed to be done. All 3 crimes had to be violent. They had to have real victims. And they were, like we said, they were putting people in jail for life for stealing a Coke. Well, now they supposedly have changed that. We'll see.
Well, that's good. You know, I mean, here's what I see that this is conditioning us for, right? We've talked about this a million times, and that is this net of surveillance that is being dropped over us, and faster every day, guys. Every day there's something new. Oh, look how cool! The new DARPA technology, but put it into the puzzle. Find the piece that fits and take a look at the big picture. This story that came out a couple days back, where to draw the line between safer streets and spying. This is the FBI's Next Generation Identification Program launching this summer. Will give police access to more data than ever before by biometrics, biological marks from facial scans and palm prints to identify suspects. Of course, some opponents are worrying that this growing web of security will give police too much personal information without a warrant. And yeah, they're going to know everything about you. They're going to have all your data, websites you looked at, your Facebook posts. Anyone who puts any type of threat on Facebook is an idiot. I'm just going to say that. Don't put anything on social media that could ever be turned around and go, oh, you want to do anything fun? Put perverted stuff there, as long as you're not a sex offender.
Well, okay, here's
give them something to read. That's my thing. Give them something to read then.
Off the wall, something. But an example of how well it's working here in California, we now have water police, and they have a snitch line. And this has only been in effect only a week or two. They've already had over 3,000 people calling that snitch line to tell on their neighbors that maybe they're washing their car or whatever.
And offering them money, probably.
I don't know, but I didn't see the money part. But yeah, over 3,000 people have already called and turned in their neighbors. That's appalling.
Well, you know, what I saw in the news yesterday, local news, the first arrest, and I don't remember what they charged him with, but I'm pretty certain that it was a felony. The first arrest in New York State under the SAFE Act with having an unregistered quote-unquote assault rifle, one that was legal up until April 15th when the SAFE Act deadline for registration went through. First arrest happened, and guess how it happened?
Oh.
Neighbors called and blew him in. They called and they said, my neighbor has an unregistered assault rifle. So he must have said something to someone like, screw that shit, I'm not registering my gun.
You know, or it was a friend of his, supposedly a friend. Because how else would they know that he had the assault rifle?
Well, right. Well, it could have been, you know, a neighbor that they talked about it or whatever. Who knows? You know, approaching your neighbor to see if, you know, when the shit hits the fan, if they're in or whatever. You know, I mean, you don't know. But all I gotta say is be careful to what you say and who you say it to. I mean, anything. Because this is just unfreaking believable. If people are gonna start turning other people in to these criminals for things that are not large crime. I saw her jaywalking.
There you go.
You know? Well, they're gonna kick your door in. And I mean, what was that one I just saw? The SWAT team showed up at a house in New York City or New Jersey. Did you see that? They play some online video game, and if you lose, your friends all call the SWAT team on you.
What?
Did you see that? That was a few weeks ago. Oh, it was crazy. And 40 SWAT showed up, and it ended up being a hoax, but they had the SWAT.
Someone got killed.
Someone definitely could have gotten killed. And I mean, SWAT teams are ready to go at a moment's notice, and they got all those MRAPs and whatever the hell else, you know, all the ex-military gear.
Mm-hmm. And they're getting more. They're bringing it home and giving, you know, even the little rural communities. What are they going to do? You know, they say, well, we're going to have it there in case, for, you know, rescue or for disasters, fire, whatever. You know, that's a lie.
Yeah, that's a bunch of shit. One of the things I wanted to play for you, so I was saying, you know, give them something to read, be a pervert. Check this out. Chase Bank. And if you remember, they were putting limits a while back on withdrawals. Do you remember that? And
I do.
Who was the bank? Was it Bank of America that then wasn't allowing, gun, manufacturing? They weren't releasing funds. Do you remember that when people were buying stuff online? Well, Chase Bank has now decided that they're going to take the moral high road and start shutting down
Here at the USC Cinema School, it's adult cinema taking center stage. Porn industry insiders are talking to students about how the business works and how online piracy has completely transformed the world of porn.
From a performer standpoint, from somebody that had worked so hard on this movie, I put my heart and soul into it, I was so proud of it, to find it for free online so quickly, it made me feel terrible. And that was the first time that I ever realized there was an issue.
Did he say they were talking in a school?
That's what it sounded like.
We got porn stars talking to our students about going into business?
Well, okay, maybe we heard that wrong.
All right, well, let's play this clip because that wasn't the point that I wanted to get out of this. I wanted to get the point out that Chase Bank is now shutting down bank accounts of adult entertainers because they're making their money in porn. But I need to know more. If these...
I want to hear the other one.
Like take the small business to work day. All right, here, let me finish playing.
Stigma involved that, you know, there's nothing wrong with doing it because it's porn. And I think that's because people don't really understand how the adult industry works and all the people that work behind the scenes. And that's something we really try to, you know, focus on, is showing that there's, you know, a whole group of people who work behind the scenes who are mostly middle income people. They're people just like you and me.
When you steal adult content, there are so many other people that are involved in that equation that you're taking money from. And essentially what's going to keep happening is if people keep downloading free porn, and more companies are forced to go out of business, eventually there will be no more new porn.
The explosion of free porn on cheap sites has forced performers to create and suggest alternative forms of making money online. It has also been an uphill battle for anti-piracy advocates.
I mean, we've got a blacklist of some, 30,000 sites. I mean, there's just a ridiculous amount of pirate sites. 9 of the top 10 Google results for porn result in a pirate tube site. So, that's a lot of people are Googling porn is what I'm getting at there.
They do VOD, video on demand. There's streaming, and it's actually not very expensive. So for the amount that you'd spend on a cup of coffee, you could contribute to our industry instead of stealing from us.
Well, I think more of the sites are going to start implementing like fingerprinting so that what you're saying is where it just gets reposted, like that won't happen. And there's been talks in Congress about changing what we have now is a notice and takedown, and they've been talking of changing that to a notice and stay down so that the same material can't be reposted to those sites. I think we're going to get that, it's going to move in that direction.
While the porn industry still rakes in billions of dollars, it's tough to see government regulators stepping in to help this risque business deal with online piracy. It remains to be seen if college students, or anyone else for that matter, can be convinced to stop downloading free pirated porn. In Los Angeles, Ramon Galindo, RT.
So what the hell? The description of the video says big banks have taken on the new role of morality police. The Electronic Frontier Foundation reports that Chase Bank has shut down the bank accounts of hundreds of adult entertainers. This latest financial hurdle isn't the only challenge for porn performers when trying to make a buck. The adult industry is also trying to team up to fight against porn piracy. Where did they talk about Chase Bank in there? Did you hear that? I didn't hear it either. Oh, damn. Hold on. Well, wait.
Oh, they lost sound again.
Uh-oh. What's going on? Well, if the alternate player works, then that means that, maybe my encoder is down. Hold on. I guess we'll try to disconnect and reconnect again. Okay. All right. Be right back. Okay, ring-a-dingy. Let's see if you guys can hear that. If not, what the hell's going on? Is it that we're touching on something that's controversial? Here,
porn?
Yeah, I'm going to drop that. That's the porn clip I just dropped into chat.
Now, I just seen, where was it? Something about them making it against the law for free porn or something like that. I can't remember. And this goes right along that line. And it's like promoting you to, maybe you won't want to be in the movie, but you could be the cameraman.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, she's like, people are going to have to find a way to get their porn without being pirates. Well, I don't know. We're going to have to find a way to get our own news without taking news from mainstream too. So I guess we're going to have to make our own.
That's crazy. Okay, you got me. I'm stumped.
Hold on, I'm doing Electronic Frontier Foundation and porn, Chase Bank. Here we go. So, RT, that was a big, F in your forehead because there was nothing in that link about Chase Bank. All right. Okay. The morality police in your checking account, Chase Bank shuts down accounts of adult entertainers. And the reason why I thought this is important is because they were doing it to gun manufacturers. Chase wasn't, but Bank of America was. So who has the right? It's a business. How do you have a right? Why would you turn down money? I don't like what you do for a living, so I'm not taking your money. Didn't they just approve allowing the banks to take drug money?
Right. That's racketeering too and money laundering, but they told them do it at your own risk. They didn't guarantee them that they wouldn't get, raided.
Right. If the feds came in and busted, then they would be in trouble. Mm-hmm. All right, let me read a little bit of this. In the latest example of a troubling trend in which companies play the role of law enforcement and moral police, Chase Bank has shut down the personal bank accounts of hundreds of adult entertainers. We've written before about the dire consequences to online speech when service providers start acting like content police. And in that clip we heard, did you hear him saying that there's going to be some new copyright things coming? So once a video's up, it'll never get uploaded again because it'll have block. There is some big stuff coming. I will guarantee you. I mean, I've seen it already in YouTube. Like, I got a content match the one day from Alex Allen's show. Remember when he was doing that show of his? And he had mic problems. And so we had a hum for about 5 minutes. Buzz. I got a content match on the mic hum. I had to fight it.
Wow.
They had tagged it to some library of sound effects. I messaged them. And I'm like, since when is microphone hum a copyrightable sound? Okay?
What'd they say?
They cleared it. You don't get responses from them, but I was pretty rude about it because I was like, give me a freaking break. So you better believe if they're matching things like microphone hum, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's coming down here very shortly.
Yeah.
Just as ISPs and search engines can become weak links for digital speech, which they are, you could search Fukushima and you are not going to get anything that's of any substance, number one, that speaks very much of any truth whatsoever, and there's only going to be a few publications, and most of them won't be news stories. I've already seen that happen. I've seen it with the traffic to my Fukushima site going down to almost nothing. They're just not showing up in the search engines, and all it has to take is a tweak here and a tweak there, and certain terms just won't be scraped. They won't send out Google bots to put them into the search engine. You know what I'm saying? It's that easy.
You know, is there any aspect of our lives that they're not attacking?
No.
I mean, really?
No, there aren't many. Your private time at home, and you're being accosted by
smart meter.
Smart meters.
Smart meters there.
Yep. All right, so here, I want to finish a little bit more of this.
Okay.
Just as ISPs and search engines can become weak links for digital speech, too often financial service providers are pressured by the government to shut down speech or punish speakers who would otherwise be protected by the First Amendment. It is unclear whether this is an example of government pressure, an internal corporate decision, or some combination. Chase has yet to give an official statement on why the accounts are being closed. At least one of the customers affected by Chase's decision to shut down adult entertainers' accounts, Tegan Presley, was told by Chase that her account was being shut down, quote, because she's considered high risk, unquote. According to the New York Daily News, her husband, Joshua Lehman, whose account is also being closed, reports receiving conflicting information from Chase about why the accounts were being shut down. Quote, I have now heard 3 different reasons. When I went into our branch, they said it was the nature of our business. When I called, they said they were closing my personal account because my wife is a, quote, infamous adult star. When I talked to my branch again, they said it wasn't because we were in the adult industry, but because we did business with a convicted felon. This isn't the first time Chase has been under fire for morality-based account closures. In 2013, Chase faced a lawsuit from the founder of MRG Entertainment for denying loans to people within the adult entertainment industry. And just a few months ago, Chase refused to process payments for Lovability, the online condom store. After bad press and public pressure, Chase reversed its decision, but it is unclear whether Chase has ever changed its policies that led to the decision in the first place. Honestly, are they really going to start making decisions based upon some corporate morality yardstick?
Well, I don't know, but I have it set up so anytime there's a change in the bank's policies, I get an email of what the change is. And that's what everybody should do. Because, you know, most people don't read their statements that closely or anything. But I get an alert that says there's been a change in the policy, and then I read it.
I don't know. I'm just, I'm not rooting anything here for the porn industry, but again, it was the gun industry. Now it's the porn industry. What's next?
Right.
Because they find it morally reprehensible?
And who's the one that's deciding this censorship? You know, a bank president?
Yeah, a bank.
Yeah.
Oh, is their sound up or down?
Well, it's kind of up and down. They're saying 16K is still working, but they're saying sound is out again. No audio.
Damn it. Hold on 1 second. I have too much to finish.
They say the 16K is working. It's good. So switch over, guys.
Yeah. You know what though? It's the encoder. It must be the 64K encoder went down. Because, I'm sending out 2 different streams, but I'm not in the server. Alt stream is not working.
Wow. That's weird.
Oh, well, let's see.
Hang up and call again?
Well, I don't know if did that fix it the last time?
That fixed it last time. They were all hearing us after that.
Alright, hold on. Alright, let's see if this brings us back. I'm gonna try and, now, what's odd is that my flash is broken again.
Mine's been doing that daily. I mean, several times.
There we are. We're back.
Okay. Yay.
We're back. So it seems to be Skype that's dumping our call.
And that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, looks like we're on, people.
We must have a censorship there too that are, you get cut off if you say these words or this subject.
Porn and guns. Let's see if it goes out again.
Like your other words that you said that got us thrown off.
Yeah. Alright, so now that we're on again, I'm hoping I'm gonna double check again. Let's make sure we're on. Yeah, we are. Okay. I want to play this clip about where to draw the line between safer streets and spying. And again, now remember, Microsoft is running their whole cyber patrol center. Mm-hmm. So who's going to be making the decisions? A corporation? A corporation in conjunction with the federal government. Oh, aren't we lucky? It's called an oligarchy. Is it not?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Maybe. Oh, there's a commercial.
Water is everywhere.
There's a commercial on this one. All right, let's skip the ad and...
During the past year, we have learned a lot about the U.S. government's surveillance programs. But those efforts are not limited to the National Security Agency. Local law enforcement agencies are also gathering and mining unprecedented amounts of data. Privacy advocates worry police can use this information to track anyone at any time without a warrant. The Center for Investigative Reporting, in partnership with KQED San Francisco, has been looking into these new tools for fighting crime. The center's Amanda Pike has this report.
Officer Rob Halverson of the Chula Vista Police Department is testing a technology that could change how police fight crime. He's on a call to verify the identity of a woman just arrested for possession of narcotics. He doesn't need to ask her name or check her ID. He just takes her picture.
Just look here, please.
His tablet uses facial recognition software to find the suspect's mugshot and criminal history.
You can lie about your name, you can lie about your date of birth, you can lie about your address, but tattoos, birthmarks, scars don't lie.
Police have access to more data than ever before, raising questions about how that information is used and stored. The tablet is part of a pilot program in San Diego County.
It's been very helpful, and some people just have to have the threat of, okay, you don't want to tell us who you are, we're just going to take a photo of you and we're going to be able to compare. And then when people kind of realize the technology we now have, they're more likely to tell us their real name in that.
More and more, police are using biometrics, biological markers from face scans and palm prints, in addition to fingerprints to identify suspects. Fingerprinting itself has been revolutionized. Now prints are taken on a mobile scanner and transmitted thousands of miles away to this highly secure FBI complex in West Virginia.
This is next generation identification.
These servers are the heart of the FBI's Next Generation Identification Program, or NGI. Officially launching this summer, the billion-dollar program will add facial scans and other biometrics to the existing trove of 137 million fingerprints. These computers analyze each fingerprint and photo that officers send.
It comes to these servers, and these servers actually do the searches, all 137 million of them. And then if they get a hit, They go down and pick some information out of the storage to send the criminal history back to the querying officer.
This data center runs up to 160,000 searches a day.
It's a big one. You can picture it as being a football field on top of another football field.
The FBI has been collecting fingerprints since the early 1900s. Prints were originally checked by hand, and it could take months to find a match. Now computers do the same work in minutes. But until recently, the FBI had no easy way to search palm prints and mugshots taken at the time of arrest. That frustrated agents like Jeremy Wiltz, the acting assistant director of Criminal Justice Information Services.
We could do very little with the mugshots that we had. If we were collecting palm prints, we could do very little with those. We had nothing that really searched those. So for unsolved crimes, you would struggle to be able to search that stuff. So insert NGI.
Any local law enforcement officer connected to NGI can submit an image and get a list of faces with matching features.
So these would be the candidates that would come back.
The FBI is also adding iris scans to the database because each person's eye contains a unique pattern that's easy to capture. For Wiltz, the real value of NGI is solving cold cases.
Think about how powerful that is. I can't wait till those success stories come out. It'll be worth its weight in gold of why we developed NGI.
The biggest concern and what people need to know about next generation identification is that anybody could end up being in that database.
Jennifer Lynch is a lawyer with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is suing the FBI to find out exactly what data the agency is collecting.
The way that NGI is set up, the FBI has said, is that they're just including mugshots. But that is really just a policy that the FBI has taken. There's no law that says that they have to limit the inclusion of images to mugshots.
The FBI acknowledges that its facial recognition system sometimes flags the wrong people. 15% of the time, the suspect won't be among the top 50 hits.
Those people whose face images come up suddenly have to prove their innocence rather than the government having to prove their guilt. And that's completely different, again, from how our democracy has been set up.
Privacy advocates worry that a growing web of traffic monitors, license plate readers, and networked security cameras will soon allow police to track our every move, all without a warrant. The legal issues over how these new technologies are used and who has access to all of this information are far from settled. With so much data being collected, the new tools pose a challenge: where to draw the line between safer streets and spying. At a high-tech nerve center in Los Angeles, police grapple with this question every day.
About 1,000 cameras in the city are fed and monitored here, mostly for investigative purposes.
Captain John Romero commands the Real-Time Analysis and Critical Response Division, which tracks crimes across the city with an up-to-the-minute map of every incident that's reported.
A small picture of a bomb would be a bomb call. The masks are robbery calls. The fists are assault crimes.
Romero says new technologies allow the department to do predictive policing, determining when and where crimes are more likely to occur. As part of a new initiative, police also monitor private cameras near the Hollywood sign and warn off interlopers through a speaker.
They are trespassers at this point.
Romero believes that while the public may be uneasy about being watched, they'll soon see the benefits.
Yes, of course they will.
Wow. Like I said, we will beg for it.
Uh-huh. And, you know, one of the things that they had said was predictive policing, where they could then determine where crimes are most likely to be committed. That's something that back last year already they were talking about having implemented in New York City. So pre-crime.
Yeah.
Pre-crime. All right, here we go.
If they think you're going to do a crime, you can go to jail.
Yep. Even thinking about it. And now they can read brains, so it's not going to be too much longer.
In early America, when we started putting up streetlights, people thought that this is the government trying to see what we're doing at night to spy on us. And so over time, things shifted. And now, if you tried to take down streetlights in Los Angeles or Boston or anywhere else, people would say, no, it's a public safety. You're hurting our public safety just so you can save money on lighting. I think that cameras will eventually get there, where cameras will not be a problem in the future.
But not everyone agrees. These protesters in Oakland fear that police will soon be able to watch anyone, anytime, with little oversight. For months, they fought a plan to create what they called a citywide surveillance system, an extensive network of live camera and data feeds. In March, they convinced the city council to scale back its plans. For now. But as police experiment with ever more sophisticated technologies, the debate will continue on the balance between security and privacy and where to draw that line.
The Center for Investigative Reporting produced that report in partnership with KQED San Francisco. Tomorrow night on NewsHour Weekend, we'll show you the results of one city's secret experiment with a new technology called wide area surveillance.
And we've talked about that. That's that 5.1 billion megapixel Argus camera that can watch the whole city and fast forward, go backwards. Zoom in.
I don't know anyone that would complain about them taking away their cameras,
No, I know. He's like, oh yeah, they'll get used to it. I think
people do.
Well, and that's what all this is leading up to with drug testing our kids in school and, making people snitch on each other. It's all about making this okay. I want to get to one more story here before we run out of time. And this is about the license plate readers. I was looking into some of the stuff that was going on in Colorado a few days ago, and I was really surprised to find out that they had started this license plate scanning program long before they made marijuana recreationally legal there. And now they're scanning license plates everywhere, but I guess it's just not focused on Colorado. It's going on everywhere. Private license plate scanners amassing vast databases open to the highest bidder. And by the way, did you hear them say that they had that massive FBI data center that they were forming?
Yep.
So we got an FBI data center and an NSA data center? Why are we running two separate, huge, massive data centers with federal dollars?
Yeah, but, local police have their own data centers too, and then they're all interconnected.
Right. Well, why are we spending money to maintain all these databases? If we're going to do it, man, might as well do it right. One big fat freaking database with all the information.
That's what they're working towards.
If you wanted to be a dick about it, I think we should fight to pull funding. Why are we doing redundant? Put it in Amazon's cloud. Aren't they working with the CIA database?
Yep. Yes.
All right. Automated license plate readers used by car repo companies, for example, collect billions of personal records per year, which contribute to vast databases that can be used by law enforcement, insurance companies, banks, and the like with very few limits. Beta Boston, working with the Boston Globe, detailed one Boston repo company's data collection abilities, reporting that the New England Associate Inc. can collect $200 to $400 for each vehicle found by an automated reader attached to an unmarked car. So I guess they attach them to the cars. I didn't know that. Companies say it can typically add 8,000 license plate scans to its database in Texas each day. So guess what, Texas? You too. Digital Recognition Network, which works with New England Associates, says it collects plate scans of 40% of all U.S. vehicles per year. According to the company's own disclosures, Digital Recognition Network operates in conjunction with around 400 repo outfits across the U.S. and has increased tenfold its plate scanners since September 2010 and adds 70 million scans per month. The scanner uses high-speed cameras and optical character recognition, OCR, to scoop up 1,800 plates a minute. No matter the speed or the driving conditions, the scanner also collects the date, time, and GPS location of each read, punctuating the privacy threats associated with plate scanning. So they know exactly where you are and what time of day it is.
Well, also, you've heard of Intel lights. They not only film you, they record your conversations, and they're using those too.
The street lights.
Mm-hmm.
The IntelliSense or IntelliLights, yeah.
Right.
They have cameras in them, they're recording conversations, yes. Check this out though. Top commercial use of the devices falls into the auto finance and auto repo industries, which both work closely with major banks to track down those who default on loans. Digital Recognition claims its clients include Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase. So we got two of them. Didn't we just talk about Bank of America and Chase?
Yep.
HSBC Holding, who was busted for money laundering, and Citibank, headquartered in New York City.
Wow.
Bank strongly encourage its repo contractors to use license plate scanners based on their efficiency in tracking down loan defaulters.
And then they'll come to your house with the SWAT team to collect.
They sure will. I am not going to have time to read the rest of this because I want to play us one more clip if I can find it fast. Where the hell would it be? I'm going to guess on my page. There was a video that came out. I know people bitch about Greenpeace, but they put out this video about the second generation robo-bees. I don't know if you caught that a few days ago. This was kind of disturbing. All right, here we go. This is the imaginary future that we do not want, it says. So we're going to close out our Friday with this new robo-bee. And you know what? If the bees die, they're taking us with them.
Five years ago, these fields were a barren wasteland. Honeybee colonies were collapsing, and pollination had all but stopped. But all of this has changed now, because bees are back. But wait, what is this? You might think these are ordinary bees, but let us take a closer look. These little marvels of advanced robotics are second-generation new bees. Far superior to their nature counterparts, they have been successfully implemented all over the world. Completely solar-powered, a new bee requires very little downtime to recharge.
All right, I'm going to run out of time. And remember, the robo-bees have surveillance cameras or they can pollinate crops. All right, guys, everybody have an awesome Friday. Have a beer for me. Thank you for being on with me, Zori. Everybody, take care.
Have a great day.
Catch you guys later.